In 1948, when Maurice Wilks outlined the original Land Rover in the sand at... Oh, sod the history lesson. It's here. The waiting is over, and there has been a lot of waiting. It's 3 years since the last one was finally killed off, and the new one has been in development for a lot longer than that. 62,000 tests and 1.2 million kilometres later, and now, for the first time, you can gaze upon the new icon, the new legend, the new, well, it's the new Land Rover Defender. First out the blocks is this one, the 110, on sale now in 128 countries. Starting price in the UK, £45,250. It'll be followed soon by this one, the 90, which will start from around £40,000. Engines, well, it's launched, amazingly, with a diesel and a 4-cylinder petrol, and perhaps more interestingly, a 6-cylinder petrol with mild hybrid assistance, which means the alternator is basically a starter motor that can feed back power harnessed from engine braking. There will be a plug-in hybrid version available soon, so it is modern-ish. Soon will be. I can't believe it is finally here, the new Defender, and it is new, completely so. Do not go thinking that this is a Discovery Sport or something else in a pair of Defender overalls. The underlying architecture was developed specifically for this car and comes with the inevitable claims that it's stiffer than any body structure they've made before. 3 times stiffer, in fact, than the traditional body-on-frame design. Though I don't remember my old Defender being made of blancmange. Anyway, this is the first time you've seen it, so let's talk about the looks. Design Chief Jerry McGovern said the new Defender must be respectful of its past, but not harnessed by it. Well, there are clear design cues from the old Defender here. Flat front and rear, these Alpine-like windows in the roof, the spare wheel mounted externally on the tailgate. The tailgate itself is side-hinged, and this sharp return here at the back. All of these, to me, echo the old Defender language. So it is respectful of its past, but is it harnessed by it? Well, it's a monocoque for the first time. The all-independent suspension can be had with coil springs or electronic air suspension, and that brings the chance for the Defender to be a bit of a split personality. Off-road, it can raise itself up by 145 millimetres. Then back on the road, the air suspension works with adaptive dynamics to give, they claim, great road manners. More amusingly, when you pull up outside a Monte Carlo casino, it lowers itself by 50 millimetres in a mode called Elegant Arrival. Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a gimmick, but for those of us shorter than the rest in the leg department, it's probably not a bad idea. It's been said that the Apollo 11 mission put man on the moon with 100,000 times less computing power than you have in your smartphone. Which is interesting, because my old Defender has 100,000 times less computing power than a piano stool. Well, Land Rover have clearly decided to do something about that. They're launching their new infotainment system, PV Pro, on this car, which promises to be faster and more intuitive and all those other millennial things. It can actually connect to 2 smartphones at the same time, although my 16-year-old daughter can do that. It's got head-up display, cameras everywhere to give you a full 360 view of the terrain around you. The sat-nav learns to cut the audio instructions when it realises you're driving through familiar territory. It's got 85 ECUs that can process 21,000 network messages at once. I have no idea what that means, but 21,000 of anything is a lot. Land Rover have dubbed it the all-terrain supercomputer. Yeah, I know, but it is clever. They clearly haven't spent all those years eating biscuits and arguing about where to put the gear lever. Speaking of which, it's here to make room for this. 3rd seat at the front, something you haven't been able to do in a Land Rover for decades. And even here, tech comes into play, because with a passenger in the middle, the mirror automatically turns into a screen showing a rear view camera, because your passenger's noggin will be blocking the actual mirror. It's a clever Land Rover. Put it into the new Wade program and it automatically raises itself and displays the depth of the water on the screen, and it can wade in up to 900 millimetres. That's, well, over my head probably. And then when you exit wade mode, it drags the brakes briefly to dry the discs. For me, this interior works. The central beam is die-cast aluminium alloy, and it is structural. they left it visible as a nod to the interior of the old Defenders. You can have seats made with a wool-based material harking back to the old days, or you can have posh Windsor leather, or suede and high-tech new materials. And it can be a 5, 6 or 5+ 2-seater depending upon your configuration. Have they done it? I know I shouldn't be biased, but I really hope so. I really wish that this was a two-way conversation. I wish I could hear and see whether you're a die-hard Landy fan, whooping and hollering 'cause you love it, or waving your high-lift jack in the air, gathering a mob to storm the factory, which is in Slovakia. There's just so much to talk about here. It may be an all-terrain supercomputer, but it is launched with a diesel in the range. It does have a completely flat underbody to aid the aerodynamics, which I fear may be rather cancelled out by the completely flat front. Does it look right? I think so, yeah, absolutely. I love it. I don't think there's ever been a harder job in the automotive world than designing the new Defender. No car is going to be subject to closer scrutiny from a more passionate band of loyal followers. So you've seen it now. I've told you a bit about it. Obviously we have to have a going one as soon as we can. Meanwhile, I want to know what you think of it. It's over to you.